All right, so get this. Super sensitive government info. Like the stuff that could really shake things up on the global stage, military strategy, all that. And it accidentally ends up with a journalist.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what we're digging into today. It's the Signal chat leak with the Trump administration.
Oh, wow.
We've got a bunch of sources here, reports from CBS News, CNN, and the New York Times, plus a really in-depth briefing doc that kind of ties it all together. So what are we doing here?
Well, we're going to unpack this whole thing, this crazy event, figure out what it tells us about communication, security, all of that. And of course, like the whole global politics stance. And then we'll break it down for you, like the key takeaways.
Sounds good.
So the main players here are National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, President Trump himself, and the journalist who got this unexpected info dump, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a textbook case, right? It shows how tech, human mistakes, and, well, the whole high-stakes world of national security can collide. Exactly. So let's jump right in. How did this even happen? I mean, a journalist in a top-secret national security chat? That doesn't sound right.
So early March 2025, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz sets up a group chat on Signal.
Okay.
The idea was to talk about a planned military operation, like a strike against Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Big deal.
Yeah, not casual at all. We're talking senior figures in the Trump administration.
Like the inner circle.
Pretty much. Reports mention Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and a bunch of others from the National Security Council. The president's main advisors on security stuff. So super serious discussions happening there.
Right.
But here's the thing. Waltz accidentally adds Jeffrey Goldberg to this chat.
Wait, Jeffrey Goldberg? From The Atlantic?
Yep.
And didn't Trump and Goldberg, not get along?
Reports say their relationship was, well, less than friendly.
Wow. That's awkward.
To add to it all, apparently President Trump was still pretty new to texting. He wasn't really familiar with Signal. CNN even said he had to ask someone what the app even was.
Seriously?
Yeah. Makes you think about their whole secure communication strategy, right?
Definitely. If the president himself isn't comfortable with the tech, how can you expect his team to handle sensitive stuff properly? That seems like, I don't know, a pretty big oversight.
It is. But okay, let's back up a bit. Before they figured out the mistake, what kind of info was actually shared in this chat?
Well, The Atlantic said Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was giving some pretty detailed descriptions of the airstrike. He sent messages saying stuff like, trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts, target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time also, strike drones launch, MQ-9s.
Wow, that's pretty specific.
Right. That's operational language.
Yeah, and trigger-based, that's important. CBS News talked to a top intelligence official about that. It means the operation depends on a specific condition, in this case, confirming where the target is.
So not just a planned strike, they were waiting for the right moment to happen. And we know those strikes actually did happen.
Yeah. Around March 15th, U.S. Central Command confirmed it. Navy FA-18F Super Hornets operating from the USS Harry S. Truman in the Red Sea.
Okay.
Along with MQ-9 Reaper drones. They hit Houthi targets in Yemen. The goal. They said it was to make sure ships could move safely in the area.
Right. And after that, there was more talk in this chat, right? Didn't Waltz give an update?
He did. He messaged Vice President Vance, said they had multiple positive ID on their targets. And get this, he said, the first target, their top missile guy, we had positive ID of him walking into his girlfriend's building and it's now collapsed.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty detailed, right?
Yeah.
About a specific person. And on a platform like Signal, that's where the security worries really come in.
Yeah, it's not just about the operation in general. It's about very specific outcomes in individuals. And this leak, it wasn't just a U.S. problem, right? What about Israel? They were pretty upset about it, weren't they?
CBS News used the word furious. Their sources said that's how Israel felt. And it makes sense. Because, think about it, this leak revealed sensitive intelligence that Israel had shared with the U.S.
Makes sense. What kind of intelligence was it? What was so sensitive about it?
It was about a human source, someone working for them in Yemen. And that's where things get really serious.
Right.
The strike itself, maybe it wasn't directly compromised, but now this person's identity could be out there.
So a valuable source could be in danger.
Absolutely. And it could hurt future intelligence sharing, too. Countries need to trust each other if they think their info, especially about human sources, might get leaked like this.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. Reports say Israel did complain to U.S. officials. Shows how seriously they took this.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
One mistake can have consequences around the world. So what about Trump? How did he react to all this? We know he defended Waltz publicly, but what was happening behind the scenes?
The New York Times had some reporting on that. They said Trump was really wrestling with this question. Should he fire his national security advisor, Michael Waltz? He was talking to his advisors, allies, trying to figure out the best move.
Interesting. So was it just the security leak that bothered him?
Well, the bad press didn't help, and the security implications were obviously a big deal. But you know what really seemed to get to him? The fact that Waltz even had Jeffrey Goldberg's number in his phone.
Seriously?
Yeah, seems like that bothered him a lot.
It's like personal feelings getting mixed up with national security issues.
Exactly. And then there's the political side of things. He didn't want to look indecisive, or like his administration was chaotic, firing people left and right, especially so early in his term. Apparently, he even regretted letting his first national security advisor go back in 2017. So he was trying to avoid that same image.
Okay, so he didn't want to look unstable, but still, a security leak, bad press, and this whole Goldberg connection.
Yeah.
And he was still leaning towards keeping Waltz.
Sounds like it. By late March, that was the vibe. And Vice President Vance even came out publicly defending the whole national security team, probably trying to show unity and move past the controversy.
Interesting. So much going on behind the scenes. It's like a whole different world.
It is. It gives you a glimpse into how decisions are made at the top. It's not always simple. All right, let's talk about how the administration explained this whole thing publicly. At first, they kind of tried to downplay it, right?
But they did.
Remember Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah.
She testified before Congress. She said the conversation was sensitive, sure, but she insisted no classified info was shared, like no sources, methods, locations, specific war plans.
But that doesn't really match what some other people said, does it?
Not really. CBS News talked to a bunch of U.S. intelligence officials and military personnel, and they said, no, this level of detail about the operation, the timing, the targets, the weapons, that's usually considered classified, even if it wasn't officially labeled as such. Sharing it like this, they said, that goes against all the rules. Cybersecurity, operational security, all that.
So they're saying even if the label wasn't there, the info itself was sensitive.
Exactly. And here's another layer to this. The NSA, they had already warned people about using Signal for sensitive stuff.
Really?
Yeah, CBS News got hold of an internal NSA bulletin. It came out before this whole chat incident. Basically, it warned NSA employees about the risks of using these third-party encrypted apps, like Signal.
So they knew it could be risky.
It said they should only use it for unclassified stuff.
Yeah.
And never share compromising info on there.
Wow, that's pretty clear. So the platform they used for this whole discussion, it was already flagged as potentially problematic.
Yep. Makes you wonder, why did they choose it and what kind of oversight was there? It seems like a disconnect, right, between the rules and what people were actually doing.
Big time. So we talked about Waltz maybe getting fired, but even before this whole thing, he was already in a tough spot, right?
That's right. There were rumors about policy disagreements, especially about Iran. Apparently, he wanted to be more aggressive than Trump did. And then there were those old anti-Trump comments from 2016. Remember that Stop Trump video?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that probably didn't help his case. So even before the leak, things weren't looking great for him.
But then Trump decided to keep him anyway. Why? Just to avoid looking chaotic.
Maybe, but there could be other reasons too. Maybe some people inside were supporting him, or maybe Trump thought firing him would be like giving in to the media. Remember Vice President Vance defended him publicly? That probably helped show confidence in the whole team.
Yeah, so many factors at play. Personal relationships, politics, it's all connected. And speaking of the public narrative, the administration's explanation for the leak, it kind of changed over time, didn't it?
It did. At first they were all, oh, it's just a glitch, you know? They even hinted that maybe some low-level staffer messed up and added Goldberg by mistake. But then the focus shifted to blaming Waltz directly.
And of course, Trump called it a witch hunt?
Classic Trump. But even within the administration, people seemed uneasy about it. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, he even said publicly that adding a journalist to the chat was a big mistake. And Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, he joked that phone calls were safer.
It all comes back to that basic tension, right? You want fast communication, especially in emergencies. But when you're dealing with national security, you absolutely need security too. These apps, they make you feel secure, but like this shows, human error can still mess things up.
Totally. The tech itself might be strong, but if the rules aren't clear, if people don't follow them, if everyone's not on the same page, then these leaks can happen, even by accident.
So, to wrap up this deep dive into the Signal chat leak, what are the big takeaways for our listeners?
Okay, so number one, even with all this fancy encryption, human mistakes are still a huge security risk.
Makes sense.
Number two, look at how differently people reacted. Israel was furious. The U.S. administration downplayed it. Shows how complicated global politics are and how domestic politics play into it, too.
Yeah, for sure.
And lastly, this whole thing raises some big questions. Are our security protocols good enough? For government communications, I mean. And are people actually following them at every level?
Like a wake-up call, right?
It is. We need both. Fast communication and strong security, especially when it comes to national security.
This whole leak, it wasn't just a one-time thing. It shows how hard it is to manage sensitive info in the digital age, and how even small mistakes can have huge consequences.
Absolutely. It makes you think, doesn't it, about the future of secure communication, in government, in intelligence sharing, everywhere. What are the long-term implications of all this?
Great question. Lots to think about. Well, that's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for listening.
My pleasure.